I believe that most people shouldn't quit their job, their previous job, their full-time job before they get into real estate. So when is the right time? How's it going, friends? My name is Jesse Lynch. I run 5 real estate teams around the United States. And on this channel and in general, I'm really interested in helping people do real estate a little bit differently, do things on their own terms. So if that's you, if you're interested in that, then come hang out for a while, subscribe to this channel, click the bell to get notified so you can see when these videos are coming out. And if it's not, keep it moving. There are plenty of channels talking about kind of the old way of doing things, more corporate versions of real estate, and this just isn't that channel. But if you are interested in working directly with me, you can go to my website, jesselynch.co. There's a bunch of different information on that website about how to work with me, whether it's on my team directly as an expansion team, on my team nationally, or just joining Real Broker, which is the brokerage I'm at. So let's get into it. I believe that people's conception of what it's like to be a real estate agent is whack. Simultaneously, people somehow manage to make it look glamorous, but also like devastatingly difficult, right? It depends on who you're paying attention to. It will definitely appear both ways. Somehow super glamorous, you can make crazy money in real estate, and people hate real estate agents because they make too money. But then at the same time, 75% of real estate agents fail or just don't renew their license for a second year, so they basically don't make it out of year one. And 90% of real estate agents fail after the first 5 years. But that's actually directly in line with just business stats. If you read business books, you'll hear those numbers over and over again. 10% of businesses make it through the first year or 5 years or so. Only like 10% of businesses make it out alive after 5 years, and then another 5 years later, only another 10% of the 10%. So like 99% of businesses stop happening, they fail, or they get out, right? They might exit, that's possible too, within the first 10 years of business. And being a real estate agent is hard. It's extremely difficult, and it's not just a job, and I believe that nobody should be thinking about it that way. Starting up as a real estate agent, you should be thinking of it as though you are starting a business, because you are. And then at some point, you want to go from being self-employed to being a business owner, right? That can lead to longevity. It can feel a little bit more passive and probably a little bit more sustainable. But so again, you have to think of it that you're starting a business. You're not just starting a new job, right? And so all of this has to happen differently. Your financial situation has to be different than if you're going from being a server at one restaurant to switching over to being a bartender at another. The reality is that handoff of income becomes pretty simple. Maybe there's just like 1 week in between your previous job and your new job, but in real estate, it's very, very different. If you were to quit a previous job, start in real estate, the first time you get paid is likely on the fast end 3 to 4 months from when you start real estate. And I mean it when I say that is fast. That's unusual. Most people get their first commission check in 6 months to a year. I'd like to think that if you're watching this channel, your goal is not to be most people. Your goal is to crush it on a level that other people don't. But even if you're crushing it on a level that other people don't, even if on day one you get a contract, a signed contract with a buyer, and let's say they even get that house under contract, you're not gonna see that money for probably a minimum of 30 days. In real estate, there is just a delay from when you have a client who comes in to when you actually make money off of that client, which is why real estate agents ought to be paid well, in my opinion, is because it's crazy and there's so much uncertainty in that income, in when that income is gonna come in. And traditional income says, if you should have like 6 months to a year of income saved up, and then you may start real estate without having a job, or quit your job, I guess, right before you start real estate. But you don't know if you'll even enjoy this work, right? So maybe dip your toes in, test the waters, see if you even want to do this job. If you have a decent job that you can tolerate and you quit it to do a job that is real estate, and you find out you hate real estate, well, then that sucks. That's probably a mistake. So I would say if you have a job that you're making money on, dip your toes in, feel it out. Is this what you want to be doing? If real estate is your dream job, right? If you've been thinking about being a real estate agent for a really long time, you've looked into it, you love the idea of doing it, and you have money ready to employ, right? 6 months to a year of income ready to employ, I think you could dive in, but if you aren't sure you like it, then just try before you buy. And so I'm gonna assume that this video on the whole, the rest of this video is for people who are like me, which is basically before getting a license, you were broke fundamentally, and you had very little operating capital. And while I do think desperation could be beneficial, I definitely had this level of desperation. It wasn't like this sad desperation. It was like this very determined, like, I am going to make this happen. That can be a very, very powerful motivator. And if you don't have much money in the bank, that can be like well, I have to make this work. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to go back to the thing that I was doing before, which maybe you don't like. And so while I think desperation could be beneficial, it's probably not a reliable game plan. You're gonna need money to get started. And then you're gonna need money to continue getting started, right? To ramp up. Once you make money, you'll eventually need to spend that money to make more money, right? It's very businessy, money in, you're gonna have to take some of that to then make more money. I guess you could never spend money on your business and only try to do like free lead generation, but then you're basically self-employed forever, and there's no sort of way to scale that up. And in my opinion, scaling, basically creating systems, putting systems in place that are reliable, that's the only way that you're ever gonna have a reliable source of income, is if you say, I know if I do X, Y, and Z for a certain amount of time, that I will make reliably some level of income. Or I guess more importantly, a level of income that is comfortable, that you can live off of, that is worth working for yourself for. Side note, one of my favorite things that Grant Cardone has ever said, I don't love everything Grant Cardone says, but one of my favorite things that he said is one of the most difficult things to do is just get by. And I couldn't agree more. And I think in real estate, there's a level of that's so difficult, because you're not just getting by, working a 40-hour work week. You're just getting by, and you don't know if you're gonna have more money coming in. That can be devastating. That can be basically immobilizing, to where it makes it really difficult to continue to do the stuff that you need to do to make money. So before you quit your job, it's very important to me that you set expectations that you'll spend more time doing real estate than you did at your old job. And I want you to be thinking about real estate when you wouldn't have been thinking about your old job. And in fact, if you're working at an old job, I want you to be thinking about real estate when you're doing that job. But still, I suppose, try to do a good job for that employer. Don't burn that bridge, but I want you to be on fire, just so certain that you're going to succeed in the real estate world. So once you start making some money in real estate, which is not a guarantee, by the way, a lot of people don't make a dime in real estate. A lot of people only just spend a couple grand to get licensed in real estate, never make a penny. So it's just a $2,000 loss and a bunch of time. But once you do start making money, which you will, if you're watching this, you will be one of the people who start making money and, start crushing it. But how much money should you make before quitting your previous job? Well, I don't know. It probably depends on you, but I think getting ahead by several months worth of income is wise before quitting. And I mean, actually having that money, not like, oh, I made that money and I spent it on a Rari, right? But cash on hand is not everything. In fact, cash on hand is, I don't know, if there's no income, cash on hand is just devastating, because you'll watch it dwindle. You'll watch it turn to nothing. So cash on hand, cool, very good, important to have, but pay attention to the momentum. The ability to maintain momentum is what leads to reliable income, right? I'm a very firm believer that momentum is everything in any business, and I would say especially in real estate. There are a ton of people. I've known so many agents, so many who yo-yo their way through real estate, right? They just can't stay consistent, and that's because it's difficult to stay consistent. So let's not yo-yo your way through real estate. If you just closed 5 transactions and that's all in the bank, great. But if you have no new clients on the horizon, right? If there's just nothing new coming up, that money will start to disappear, and it's a really, really stressful way to live. To be like, aha, I've amassed this small fortune, and then you check back in 2 weeks and you're like, oh, my small fortune is an even smaller fortune. It sucks. It's not a good way to live. Try really hard to avoid that. So if you have some funds available and your momentum or pipeline, right, gives you reason to believe that the coming months or coming year will have some real promise, right? If you actually have people who are intending to work with you in the near future and you have 6 months to a year of potential income saved up, then and only then would I quit the job that's actually paying your bills with any reliability. Money, cash in the bank, cool. Momentum, even more important. Reliability, though, is very, very difficult to compete with, and you need to make sure that you have some reliability or at least some sort of support structure that will help you if you start to fall, if your small fortune starts to dwindle. But the truth is, a lot of y'all are out there on your own. A lot of y'all are trying to make something happen, and you need some sort of consistency, right? So that is the thing that you need to feel like, I think I have some level of consistency. Even if it is up and down, is the downside of your yo-yo tolerable? Could you live off the downside of your yo-yo? Well, then, okay. Then I think that is probably enough consistency to quit the previous job and double down on real estate. Because in my opinion, if at least for a while you don't quit the old job and then double down on real estate, keep putting that same effort in that you were doing before at your old job and the real estate gig, then I think that's a missed opportunity. I think you can just ramp up that momentum to an unbelievable level to where the old job isn't even close to providing the lifestyle that you've created for yourself through real estate. See ya.